Taiwan has lived for decades under constant threat of an invasion by China. Beijing claims Taiwan as a part of its territory to be seized one day, even by force if required. However, many Taiwanese people consider their self-ruled island to be distinct, whether or not independence is ever officially declared there. Taiwan's defense spending this year will focus on preparing weapons and equipment for a total blockade by China. China staged war games around Taiwan in August. Back then, China fired missiles near Taiwan and declared no-fly and no-sail zones in a simulation of how it would seek to cut Taiwan off in a war. Taiwan's defense ministry said it began reviewing its strategic fuel reserves and repair abilities last year. In an update on its threat assessment from China, the ministry said China has been conducting joint force operations. Beijing plans to control strategic choke points and deny access to foreign forces. On Monday, Xi Jinping said that China must modernize its military to make it a great wall of steel. Xi also said that China must oppose pro-independence and secessionist activities and the interference of external forces. China's military's Eastern Theater Command last year sent more than 1,700 aircraft into Taiwan's air defense identification zone. That, as per Taiwan, is more than double the number from a year earlier and poses a substantial threat. Now, just a few weeks back, Taiwan said it had spotted 19 Chinese Air Force planes in its air defense zone in 24 hours. The ministry said China has also continued to use grey zone tactics to test Taiwan's response. Grey zone tactics include sending drones, balloons and fishing boats to areas close to Taiwan. Taiwan is looking to bank on US weapons, including Stinger anti-aircraft missiles and HIMARS mobile rocket launchers. Meanwhile, Beijing's approach towards the Ukraine war has centered around avoiding any direct criticism of Russia. At the same time, China has managed to project the US as a strategic rival. As per the Wall Street Journal, Xi Jinping plans to speak with Zelensky for the first time since Ukraine war broke out. News agency Reuters earlier reported that the Chinese president is eyeing a Russian visit. Xi will likely speak with Zelensky after the visit to Moscow. China recently published a 12-point position paper that called for urgent peace talks and a political settlement to end the Russia-Ukraine conflict. Just last month, Zelensky expressed hopes to meet Xi Jinping, calling it important for world security, since they have a plan for peace. China's effort to broker peace in Ukraine has been met with skepticism, at least by the West, given Beijing's diplomatic support for Russia. China has refused to describe the Russia-Ukraine conflict as an invasion. Beijing has also refused to call for a Russian withdrawal from Ukrainian territory. The West insists peace is only possible if Russia withdraws troops. Despite the US and allies' continued ambitious efforts to bolster the Ukrainians, there are no signs of an endgame to the war between Russia and Ukraine, which seems destined to enter an even more complicated phase in the months ahead. In recent months, Xi Jinping has met with world leaders seeking to re-establish ties and settle disagreements. Analysts say Beijing's engagements are an attempt to counter Washington's improvements in ties with countries around the world. And now we're being joined by our correspondent Richard Kimber from Hong Kong. Tell us more on the way Xi Jinping on a diplomatic blitz and is to be trying to play peacemaker. And if that will bolster China's position against Taiwan, which is gearing up for a possible China blockade.
These latest reports suggest that President Xi Jinping is preparing to embark on a diplomatic blitz just one day after being unanimously voted into power for a third term as Chinese president. There are expectations he will travel to Russia to meet with Russian President Vladimir Putin and then plan to speak with Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky. This would, it's understood, be the first time he'll have spoken to the Ukrainian leader since the Russian invasion began. China has been trying to paint itself as a peace broker with regards to this conflict and has even come up with its own peace strategy for how to resolve things. That's been met with skepticism from the US and its Western allies about what exactly China's intentions are. There are also concerns about how this could stoke further alarm over the situation with the self-governed island of Taiwan. In his speech after being appointed for his third term as leader, President Xi Jinping reiterated his intention and his resolve to reunify the democratically ruled island of Taiwan with the Chinese mainland. He also said he wants to ramp up defense spending for the Chinese army and turn it into what he called a great wall of steel that safeguards national security. There's still no clear indication of how many of these diplomatic issues can find a resolution. There are expectations US President Biden may speak with President Xi Jinping at some point in the coming weeks, but no clear date for that. And so plenty of reasons for concerns politically and strategically with regards to security futures in this region, with no clear end in sight for how this can all be resolved. Richard Kimber in Hong Kong.